Hello and welcome back to another episode of Legal Talk with Alina. I am thrilled to have a very special guest today, Ryan Conn, owner, business strategist of CS Business Consulting. Ryan Conn, he has an amazing history. He is not only an accomplished entrepreneur and transformative leader with a unique background. His background spans law enforcement. He was a SWAT team leader. I had the privilege of interviewing him about almost 2 months ago, in another matter. But the wealth of information that Ryan brings in and through his honed skills is leadership, strategy, and team building. I am thrilled to have him, and it is an honor. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on to Legal Talk. And I know we are all going to be wowed by the wealth of information you provide us today.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and you flatter me. Thank you.
So, Ryan, I kind of gave a very brief background on you. Would you please give our viewers share a little bit more of your background and how it is that you developed and created your business?
Sure. So to keep it as brief as I can, the 12 years of law enforcement I did really emphasized leadership and training, and I became an instructor or a trainer in 17 different disciplines, had some ranks. I ended up running an undercover drug and vice unit for 2.5 years. I was on the SWAT team for over a decade and the SWAT team leader when I left, including patrol sergeant. I was in charge as a supervisor of the police training program. So developing, mentoring, and creating people to be better versions of themselves and keeping inside the confines of the law at the same time was an important part of what I did. Well, that came over into the business realm when my father-in-law made me an offer that I couldn't refuse to partner up with him in the accounting firm and help transform it through leadership and basically growing teamwork and culture. And that process made me document what I did and turn it into CS Business Consulting and what I do for other people now all over the country.
And I thank you, because I was just about to ask you, how do you tie in all of that strategy from being in law enforcement to your current role as a consultant and business strategist? So my first question, and it may seem a little rudimentary, but I think the basics are important. And how important is it for someone who is going to either start a new business or an existing business align their legal and business strategies?
So I think we know, like you said, the rudimentary answer is it's of paramount importance. What people don't, I think, grasp when you say, of course it's important, is that if you don't lay the foundation right in the beginning, it will fracture at some point along the way. And I can speak both on the legal side. As law enforcement officer, we had to investigate those white collar crimes, and people found themselves in a tough spot. They didn't have the legal backing that they needed, and companies deteriorated. People committed crimes. There was a whole host of victims based on what the actions of a business owner or person in a leadership position could get themselves into. And as far as the strategy side of things, you don't want to get into recruiting practices that are illegal or unethical. You don't want to get into skipping out on paying taxes and not knowing that you're supposed to pay sales tax for the last 2 years until they caught you. And then now you have an incredible tax burden that can cripple you. Then you don't want to miss out on compliance and filing. And again, the nature and the legal nature of what you do with and through your staff and employees are all critical pieces of that puzzle.
So let's just do a little role play. Say I am a prospective new client for you, and I need everything. Let's just say I have an established business, but I really haven't gotten into the thick of having a business strategy, how to really grow not only my team and my business and as such revenue, but also leadership skill. What would you say for someone like myself, if I were coming to you going, what are the first steps that I need to do in order to develop a business strategy?
So that is a beautiful question, and literally what we deal with day in and day out. So if you were starting off basically brand new, I would refer you to what I call the Freedom 15, and it's 15 steps that walks you from the conceptual idea of what you want to do all the way to fruition where you are expanding and growing your business that has been well founded. In your example here, you're at least a little way along the path. So I would do an immediate examination and say, we need to make sure that you are playing by the rules. We would do an examination on the tax side to make sure that all of your compliance is in order. And if it's not, let's document things. Let's get the compliance in order. And then on the leadership side, I would start asking you questions and running you through a program that assesses your leadership skills, what type of mission or vision you have established, what your core values, and how you can develop a leadership philosophy from there to implement among your team so that they can grow, they can have no question marks, and be able to carry out the vision on your behalf. So delegation and compliance all work hand in hand throughout the growth and the journey that you're looking out for.
Okay, and let's just go on that. I am somewhat of an established business owner, not brand new, like I had that. And so we now start looking at my compliances,
Mhm.
get especially, I can appreciate that getting into legal and
Oh, yeah.
financial compliance with everything. But also like that leadership testing um and development of what is that mission and vision, how to move that forward. So I'm sure in dealing with that, especially let's say someone who is new. I mean, you're a business owner, you think you're a leader. That's not necessarily true. Is developing that leadership, how to communicate, things like that, I would imagine is something that you can also educate someone to be able to, again, empower and grow that team basis.
Yeah, so what I do is I will run them through an assessment. And I tell everyone that regardless of how much or how little, everyone is a leader in some component. You're always going to have some eyes on you in some capacity, whether it's your children, whether it's a peer, whether it's a supervisor or subordinates, but how you control that influence. So number one, every leader needs to be made aware of their influence and the impact their influence have. So we'll do a little assessment activity that walks people through their areas of influence called the sphere of influence. In that sphere of influence, we'll look at the proportional nature of how much they're impacting the people around them. And then we'll start to drive in how much of that can be organic on the spot leadership, situational, or how much of that needs to be prepared and planned leadership, where you need to come up with plans and actions and goal setting. And so when we separate those two, put it in line with their leadership philosophy and the core values and ultimately the mission that they're trying to accomplish, all of the pictures and all the dominoes start to line up so that once it comes to implementation, you just hit that front domino and it all falls into place. But most people don't understand that leadership can be taught. I don't believe leaders are born. I believe leaders are made. And this is the process of making you a leader or a much better positive leader.
And obviously, that would also go into like the strategic planning for a business and its growth. What are some of the pitfalls that an entrepreneur should be on the lookout to ensure that their strategic plan and their business plan is moving forward?
I would say a couple of the major pitfalls are not getting the vision to be universal, not getting the entire team, the entire company structure to buy in on that vision. That's a major pitfall because then everyone's just guessing at why we're doing this and how does it affect the future? What's the point in this task or project you've given me? How does this fit in the big picture? And where are we going with this? And ultimately, that vision has to elevate everyone, not just the owner gets to make a bunch more money. That's a pitfall as well. Is showing how other people will benefit as well. And then I'd say function with that is not delegating. So instead of not sharing the vision, not sharing the appropriate workload. An owner should be working on the business as much as possible, not in the business. And so learning the appropriate steps of training and mentoring your staff so that you can then delegate to them and you can look upward on the vision and the successful growth is important. One of the major pitfalls I see is that owners have to get everything just right or they have to control too much and they're not willing to let go and allow their people to achieve. And the business will very much reach a plateau in its ability to grow if the owner just doesn't let go and delegate.
Okay, I can say I'm probably one of those little Miss Perfects, but also sometimes you look at a business, especially if you started as a solopreneur. This is
Mhm.
your baby. This is your, dreams, hopes, whatever you want to call it, but this is your baby. And it is sometimes hard to let go, just like I'll say a mother allowing their child to leave the
Mhm.
nest in many ways, though having staff that is properly trained, and in aspects of achieving your goals, the mission goals of the business. Is that something also that you help with, business strategies?
Yes, definitely is one of the things is how to convey your mission, and how to convey your vision and measure those things. So the mission and the vision are articulated, well thought out, workable, livable tools that should be referenced frequently. You should be able to walk into any business and say, "Hey, what's the mission of this company?" And nobody's probably going to quote it, but they should be able to paraphrase it pretty accurately. And if you can walk in there and say, "Hey, what's the mission? What's the vision?" and people can paraphrase that to you, then you know you've probably got good leadership in place. So, how to convey that message to your people and get them to come on board and overcome the objections that may arise, and then also teach them that say, hey, the bus is going this direction. I want you on the bus. We're all going to go on this journey together, but some people just don't want to get on the bus. And it's okay to let people go that don't want to get on the bus. But through the articulation and the goal vision setting, you're going to find out who wants on the bus and who doesn't. And it's okay to call the herd and let people go. Kind of in a little bit of a double statement to that, when you are working on putting these pieces together, you have to come back and check on the status constantly. When you're driving a bus, you got to constantly be looking at your speed, constantly looking at the gas tank, making sure none of the engine lights are coming on. And if you can get people on the bus and keep your bus healthy and driving forward, you're going to have good leadership and good growth. And there's strategies and tools and worksheets and processes for all of this.
Oh, all great points, and I really appreciate you sharing this wealth of information. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be right back. We're going to pick Ryan's brain even more to get this great free expertise in not only strategizing for a business, but how to engage your team into broadening their leadership goals as well. Tune right back in right after this.